She can't use the slide. It's just soap. It washes right off. The kids have been going all afternoon. She's 3. I'm 34, and I don't really know why I'm typing this out, except that my husband keeps saying I should just let it go. And every time he says that, I find myself staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning thinking about a bottle of dish soap. We moved into this neighborhood about 2 years ago, and we've always been a little on the outside of things here, which is fine, genuinely fine. It's just the shape of it. Our daughter, Mara, turned 3 in April, and she has this thing about slides specifically. And for the past year and a bit, we've been walking to the park on Greenfield every single afternoon around 4, letting her go down the slides until her legs get wobbly, then coming home and starting dinner. Nothing about that Tuesday looked different when we left the house. Warm and a little muggy, Mara already asking about the park before we'd even gotten to the end of the driveway. When we got there, 2 families had already set up across the grass in a way that felt less like they'd arrived at a park and more like they'd arrived at their park. Coolers open, bags everywhere, a Bluetooth speaker playing something low and summery. Kids in swim trunks running back and forth like they'd been there for hours. I noticed the soap smell before I noticed the slides. This chemical sweetness mixing with the warm wood chip smell in a way that sat at the back of my throat and didn't really leave. Hey, sorry, are you all using all of the slides right now? Oh, we're just kind of set up over here. Yeah, it's been such a good afternoon. Sure, no, I just wasn't sure if... She usually goes on the small one. They're all open. I mean, everyone's welcome. We just brought a little something to make it more fun. Right, okay. Then I looked at the slides and I saw that every single one of them was sheeted in soapy water, catching the afternoon light in that particular iridescent way that soap does when it's been spread thin across a surface. There was a bottle of dish soap sitting at the very top of the main slide structure, just sitting there like it was the most natural thing in the world, like that was where dish soap lived. Mara hadn't noticed yet. She was still pulling at my hand and pointing toward the structure. The wood chips at the base of the slides were already thin. I knew that. We'd flagged it to the city twice. My husband had sent the second message himself with a little photo attached and a very polite subject line, and nothing had changed. Jalen, bring that back up. The other one needs more on the left side. The wood chips at the bottom are pretty worn down there. I don't know if anyone's flagged that. Oh, they've always been like that. It's fine. The kids land fine. We actually sent something to the city about it a while back. I mean, they're kids, they fall, that's kind of the whole thing. Yeah. One of the older kids hit the bottom of the main slide and skid hard into the wood chip border and just laughed. Scrambled up, ran back around to do it again, while the adults at the picnic blankets glanced over once and then looked back at their phones. There was a woman about my age, maybe a few years older, sitting at the center of the picnic setup in the way that people sit when they are clearly the gravitational center of a group. And she had the easy, settled look of someone who had never once in this neighborhood felt like she was behind a pane of glass. The soap bottle got passed down to one of the kids on request. The kid ran it back up the stairs and tipped more of it onto the slide, and the woman at the blanket watched this happen and smiled at it in the absent, comfortable way you smile at something you find charming. She can't use the slide. It's just soap. It washes right off. The kids have been going all afternoon. She's 3. My youngest did it at 2. Honestly, they love it once they try. I'm sure they do. Mara was standing at the bottom of the small slide, looking up at the soapy surface with genuine uncertainty, which she does not usually feel about slides. She looked back at me once, and then looked back at the slide, and then stepped back a little, just a small step. Nothing had actually happened yet. No one had said anything. Nothing had gone wrong. It was just a small step backward from a toddler who wasn't sure about the slide. I didn't say anything. I didn't go get the soap bottle. I just watched. Did you see the splash pad on 9 is supposed to open this weekend finally? I saw that. It's honestly so much better for the little ones anyway. Way more their speed. We usually just come here. Sure, I mean, it's a public park. It's whatever works for you. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. We left earlier than usual, before Mara had hit the point of wobbly legs. And that night I opened the neighborhood Facebook group because I had a feeling. And my feelings about the Facebook group are almost always correct in the worst possible way. There was already a post, not about the soap, about the park in general, someone asking whether the splash pad on Route 9 was open yet this season, and under it was a chain of comments recommending it, enthusing about it, and one that said something like, "If people want a water feature for their kids, the splash pad is right there," which is the kind of comment that looks like helpful information and functions as something else entirely. Somewhere in the middle of the thread, there was a comment from a profile I didn't recognize that mentioned the park on Greenfield specifically, said something like, "The kids had a wonderful afternoon," which is true, they did. I watched them. And the likes on that comment numbered in the double digits, which is a lot for a neighborhood Facebook group. I closed the app and put the phone face down on the counter. The next morning, I went to the park before anyone else arrived, before Mara was even awake. The slides were still slick. You could see it in the way the light hit the handrails, this faint, iridescent film across the metal, across the platform at the top, across the stairs, the kind of thing you'd only notice if you were looking for it, or if you already knew it was there. The wood chips at the base looked the same as they always did, unchanged, thin. The soap bottle was gone. Someone had taken it or it had been taken home, but the residue of it was everywhere, just sitting there on the surfaces of a structure that would be full of kids again by mid-afternoon. At some point the boy had noticed Mara the afternoon before, the older one, maybe 10, who'd been doing the sliding for a while already, and he stopped at the bottom and looked at her standing there. And then, without anyone saying anything to him, he picked up a towel from somewhere near the structure and held it out in her direction. Not really to her, not really to me, just kind of generally in the air between us, like he wasn't sure what the gesture was for, but was doing it anyway. Then he put it down and ran back around to the stairs and went back to sliding. I stood there in the early quiet, with my hands in my pockets, the residue still on the handrails, the wood chips still thin at the base, and the neighborhood group had already moved on to a lost dog, a beagle mix, someone saying they'd seen it near the CVS, the park post already 3 posts down and fading.